comes next?
You know what? I honestly think Melo should retire. I really do. I don't want him to go through another situation like this and people are just pouring negativity on this man's legacy. I really think because it hasn't worked out the last two teams, just go ahead and you have a Hall of Fame career, just go ahead and let it go.
Carmelo Anthony's decline has been anything but graceful. He was once a star player, heralded as a rival to Lebron, Wade, and Kobe. But in a quick and rapid fashion, he's turned into a player that has been released from two teams and told by several players to simply retire. Why was Melo's decline so steep? What can we learn from Melo's situation? And most importantly, how good really was Carmelo Anthony in his prime? Carmelo Anthony in his prime was one of the most talented scorers of the past generation. While lacking the elite athleticism of LeBron or Kobe, he had so many moves and counter moves that he could score in almost any way. Mix his skill set with his size and strength, and you can see why Carmelo has been so praised for his scoring for most of his career. Carmelo's bread and butter throughout his whole career was his high post face-up game and using jab steps and rip-throughs to size up his defender. If he jabbed and the defender took a step back to guard his drive, he would rise up and fire. If the defender didn't bite on the jab step, he would do a slight shoulder fake before getting low and performing a rip-through move to get by his defender. And once he got a step on you, he could either get to the rim, create contact, and get an open shot, or even hit step back. Sometimes he would even flow from a jab step into a post move, showcasing his good footwork. He was so good and comfortable with the high post face-ups and the jab steps that this was his go-to move in late game situations. With his talent, he would hit you with multiple jab steps, and even if you didn't bite or played good defense, he would just rise up and hit a tough shot in your face.
They're down to 5. Anthony, played by James. Anthony with the shot, yes! What a night! 10 seconds to go!
One of Carmelo's other go-to moves was a hesitation jumper. Because he had a quick first step, the defender always had to be on the lookout for his drive. As a result, Melo would take one hesitation dribble, allowing the defender to relax, and then pulling up in rhythm against a late contest. Because of his size and quick release, Melo could get his jumper off without having much separation. Melo pulling up even with little space and seemingly from anywhere always made the opposition on edge, meaning that Melo could hit his defender with a hesitation move to threaten the shot before blowing past them and driving to the rim. Even though he likes to face up, earlier in his career, Melo wasn't afraid to size up his competition. He was never known for his handles, but for his size, he could handle fairly well using inside-out dribbles, behind-the-back moves, and even crossovers to get to open spots on the floor. When on the attack, he was really good at getting a step on his defender and putting them in jail before pulling up for a shot. If you were able to keep in front of him, he would just use his shoulder to get separation, then take a shot. A contested mid-range pull-up jumper is a very difficult shot, but he felt comfortable enough with it and made it just enough times for it not to be a bad shot. He was so comfortable with this shot that he would even do it from the three-point line. Even in clutch or high-pressure situations, he wasn't afraid to take a dribble pull-up.
No. Anthony for 3. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied!
Melo was the type of player to run off screens and get open for shots, but occasionally he would come off a pick for a mid-range shot. Another way for him to get shots was by running a pick and pop, where he would usually slip the screen and pop for an open shot. Even though he was never an active off-ball player, he had the ability to space the floor by being in the right places for a pass, or at times running to the ball handler to get a shot that way. Because of this quick release and confidence, he had no fear pulling up a shot with even just a slimmer of daylight. And even though he was never a three-point shooter, you couldn't just leave him open, or he'd make you pay. And since he had to close out hard on his jump shot, he was also good at attacking those closeouts. He was good at using the pump fake to get the defender to fly by, and either relocating for a mid-range shot or getting all the way to the rim. When he was driving, he made sure to be physical and use his shoulder to initiate contact, taking the defender out of the play or creating a foul. He had a really good soft touch around the rim, and he could finish at pretty difficult situations because of his touch. He was patient when he attacked the closeouts, always making sure to get an open shot or a lane to the basket. If needed, he could also act as a ball handler in the pick and roll and could use the screener to attack the defense, usually looking for a shot. As his career went on, Carmelo operated more and more in the post. He was great at using his size, quickness, and shooting threat to have a versatile post arsenal. If you were playing him tight, he would get in post position and take 2 power dribbles before doing a drop step. Once he was able to do a drop step on you, his size meant you had a hard time of defending him without fouling, and he was able to finish. If he was backing you down and couldn't get the step advantage, then he was more than willing to take a fadeaway, which he could do from any angle on the court and going either to his right or to his left. Since he had a good touch around the rim, he was patient and didn't rush his shot, always looking for the right angle. Like many great scorers, Carmelo Anthony was able to set up his teammates for open looks simply because his scoring brought so much attention on him by the defense. However, when he wanted to, he could actually be a good passer, being able to collapse the defense and pass to an open shooter or a cutter. He was never the type to often make insane passes, but he had good timing and good vision, and when he wanted to, he could give his teammates easy looks. A great example of this is in the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers, where he was really doing a great job at making the correct reads when the defense would collapse on him. Of course, throughout his career, he was known as a ball stopper, and at times didn't pass when he should have, but there's no doubt that when he wanted to, he was more than capable of playmaking. His speed, size, ball handling ability, and willingness to shoot from anywhere made him a really difficult cover. He had the talent and the smarts to know when to use all of his different offensive tools to counter the type of defense you were playing him. Play him for his drive and he would pull up. Play him for his pull-ups and he would use his first step to get past you and use physicality to get to the basket or the line. If you were able to run him off his shot and stop his drive, then he could bump into you and hit a quick step back. The same types of counters can be said about his face-up and post-up game. If you reacted to his jab step, he could pull up, and if you didn't react, then he knew he could get by you. In the post, if you were flat-footed and not disciplined, then he could just blow by you or get into a position for an easy layup. But if you defended his drive well, then he wasn't afraid to hit a fadeaway from any angle on the court. And if Melo was really engaged, he could pass out to open teammates if you tried to focus on him solely. There's a reason people say that Carmelo was one of the best scorers of the past generation, and that's because he had so many moves and counter moves. Those moves mixed with his size, strength, and quickness made him a really tough cover. I think you can see all of Melo's game come together beautifully in the Western Conference Finals series he had against Kobe. He was bullying anyone who was guarding him in the post, getting offensive rebounds, and even making some great passes to his teammates. In that series, he also showed incredible competitive drive and rose up to the challenge of battling Kobe. There were moments in that series where he was unguardable. The thing about Melo was that he wasn't just skilled, but he was microwave, and that once he got on a roll or got hot, then he could shoot the lights out of the gym. Nothing is more apparent about this fact than when he scored 50 points on only jump shooting, which really showcased how incredibly talented he was offensively. In clutch moments, he also had a resume of making not just clutch shots, but really tough clutch shots. He was never scared of that moment though, and he felt that he could make any shot no matter how difficult or no matter who was guarding him.
In the hands of Anthony. Anthony for three. Puts it in! Knicks by one with 8.2 remaining!
Now with all this being said, if you looked at Melo now, you would see a guy who's been thrown off 2 NBA teams in a row for his subpar play. The thing that's always been a nagging off the court issue for Melo was his pride and his inability to change his game for the benefit of the team. There is a history of him needing to be the star and chasing off other people from playing with him if it seemed like he'd be overshown. And for as great as I've said his strengths were, watching the footage, a lot of his game is an ISO-heavy, ball-stopper type offense, which generally isn't a great type of play style to run. He was good at this play style, yes, but he wasn't nearly efficient enough for his ISO style to lead to a winning team. It makes sense that he played this way when he first got into the league where ISO ball was the way, but as the league evolved into prioritizing efficiency and ball movement, he was never willing to adopt this play style. Him not being able to adopt this play style is sad because as we've seen in numerous games, he definitely had the talent to be a good off-ball player with his shooting ability. I mean, you don't score 50 on all jump shots or break the Knicks franchise record for points in a game without being very talented. But unfortunately, his stubbornness and unwillingness to adopt his playstyle has now led to the sad state of his career now. Because of injuries or wear and tear in his body, his shot just isn't falling anymore. And now that his shot isn't falling, it's hard for him to offer much value to any team as he's still a ball stopper or still sometimes doesn't look to pass or play defense. There's a good chance he's totally washed up, and it's sad to see how quickly this happened, especially when you see players of his era like Wade, Dirk, and Vince Carter still carve out roles as useful players because they were willing to come off the bench or not have to be the focal point on offense. They have all had more graceful endings to their career as a result. The case of Melo is a lesson to other NBA stars that Father Time is undefeated. Eventually, your game will start to fall, and if you're unwilling to adopt, then instead of fall, you may just crash and burn.